everybody, I'm Carolyn. I'm the Children's Librarian at Battersea and York Gardens Libraries in Wandsworth, London, United Kingdom. And I'm here to share with you some very spooky picture books that I think you'll enjoy for Halloween. And then I will be reading one of these very spooky stories with you, so get cozy. I'm gonna go put my skin back on. Hi everybody, it's me again. I am back. And ready to share some picture books with you. The first set of picture books I'm going to share is all about skeletons in honor of my colleague there that you just met. And the first one is a classic. It is, of course, Funny Bones by Janet and Alan Alberg. And if you've read these, you know they are very silly, fun books about a family of skeletons and their dog that get up to some antics and into some tricky situations. So it's really more goofy and fun than scary. But of course, adding the skeletons in gives it a little bit of Halloween flavor. Next is really in the same line as Funny Bones in that it will tickle yours. And it is called Four Silly Skeletons by Mark Sparing and Sue Hendra, who you might know of Super Tato fame. And it's a fun rhyming counting book about skeletons that get into a tricky situation where they need some help telling which bone connects to what bone. And the last skeleton one is called Oscar Seeks a Friend, and it is by Pavel Pavlak. It is a really beautifully illustrated book. The illustrations and the story itself have a little bit of creepiness to them, but ultimately it's a very sweet story of finding friendship in unexpected places. And as you can see, the mixed media illustrations are just gorgeous, so I really recommend that one of my new favorites. Next, we're going to talk about some creatures that some folks find a little bit scary, and that's mice. And the first book is great for children who want to get into the Halloween spirit, but maybe are a bit put off by scary stuff, because these books aren't really scary at all. They're very sweet, and it's the Moonlight School series by Simon Puttock and Ali Pye, and this one is Mouse's First Night at Moonlight School. So it's a great one if you're starting school. It's all about overcoming those first day jitters and making new friends, and the school is of course run by the lovely, friendly Miss Moon. Next is a bit scarier, but also very funny story and silly story called Hide and Squeak. And you can probably guess it's based off of, very loosely, Jekyll and Hyde. And it is by Fiona Ross. It's about this little mouse who turns occasionally into a mutant monster mouse, and the granny that aims to save her adorable pet rat from this scary fate. As you can see, it is a picture book, but it's told in kind of comic book format, so it's a good transitional read for children who are moving to first chapter books or graphic novels as well. Next, I want to move on to some stories that are kind of about being afraid in different ways. So this first one is called The Foggy, Foggy Forest, and it is by Nick Sherritt. And this is a really cool one because it has these sort of see-through pages where you can see the silhouette of what's that in the dark and creepy forest. And then it turns out to be something that maybe you don't need to be so afraid of. So that's a great one for story time. Turning the kind of translucent pages is really, really fun. Make sure you get the hardback version because the paperback version is good too, but it doesn't have those translucent pages. The next is I Want to Be in a Scary Story by Sean Taylor, and it's illustrated by Jean Juliet. And it is about a little monster who wants to be in a scary story. And it's an interactive storybook, so you're kind of talking the little monster through whether or not he really wants to be in a scary story and what it means to be in a scary story. And it is about the fact that we're really all afraid of different things. And sometimes being scared can be scary, and sometimes it can be fun. But it's always fun to share a story. The next one is called Christopher Pumpkin. It's by Sue Hendra and Paul Lynette, again, of Super Tato fame. It's illustrated by Nick East, and it is about a pumpkin named Christopher. And unlike the other Halloween pumpkins, he doesn't really like scary stuff. So he uses his love of all things sort of fun and sparkly and pink and sweet to play a trick on the other Halloween creatures. And it's another one about the fact that we all find different things scary. The next two are about being afraid of the dark. Who's afraid of the dark? I am a little bit. So it's about how being afraid of the dark is very real, but is also usually something you don't really need to be afraid of. The first is called The King Who Banned the Dark, and it is another really gorgeously illustrated book. It only really uses 2 colors, but she manages to make it work. It's by Emily Howarth Booth. And it is a longer picture book, so it's great for older kids or those just learning how to read. And it is about a king who banned the dark because he was afraid of it. But in the end, we learn that maybe the darkness can be good because it allows for the light. And the next one is called The Dark by Lemony Snicket. He wrote a series of unfortunate events, which is, of course, chapter books for much older kids. But you'll find some of his trademark sort of creepiness and quirkiness in this picture book, illustrated by John Klassen, who illustrated the I Want My Hat Back books, wrote those books as well. So you probably know him too. And this is about a boy named Laszlo who was also afraid of the dark, but again teaches us that sometimes the dark can be friendly or comforting or kind. And the last book I want to share with you is called The Grotlyn, and it's by Benji Davies. He wrote and illustrated The Storm Whale, so you might recognize his signature style. In The Grotlyn, he makes really good use of color and light and shadow to create a kind of creepy atmosphere in this story about fear of the unknown. But like The Storm Whale, it's kind of a gentle tale and is not too scary because, as it turns out, the thing itself, once you get to know it, is maybe not that scary at all. So I'm going to share the whole story with you today. I'll leave a link to this book and all the other books I covered in this video, as well as some other spooky Halloween-y books in our library catalog. So if you want to take any of them home, you can reserve them and come collect them at any Wandsworth Library branch. So The Grotlyn by Benji Davies, shared with kind permission of Harper Collins. And it starts in this city. We have some people and a monkey. Let's see what they are up to. There's some music coming from this. I think it's a hand organ. I know when the Grotlyn's been slipping through your house unseen. Ooh, I wonder what the Grotlyn is. One night, as Ruby climbed to bed, an organ's tune whirled in her head. She heard it in the street that day, and now it would not go away. I know when the Grotlyn's been slipping through your house unseen, but what at first we think to be, the eye does blindly make us see. It's a bit scary. While all the world made not a sound, this funny rhyme swirled round and round. When nearby in the shadowed gloom, something scuttled through her room. It's just a mouse, it's just a mouse, she whispered to the sleeping house. But up the chimney through the soot, something stranger was afoot. Across the rooftops peppered black, she hoped it wasn't coming back. But don't be scared to sleep, to dream, for things are not quite what they seem. A sudden rustle, whoosh, then flap. Sam's hair stood up beneath his cap. God help us, what on earth was that? He hoped that it was just a cat. 'Tis the Grotlyn, plain as night, it really gave me quite a fright. I think I saw it in the park, I saw it blinking in the dark. One night as I was bedding down, it scampered up my dressing gown. Why, in the pantry clear as day, it nibbled all the cheese away. Oh dear, what do you think it is? Halfway across town, policeman Vickers hung out to dry his vest and knickers. But oh, look out, the Grotlyn's here. Stop, thief, he cried without a fear. Oh, we see the Grotlyn's feet at least. Too fast for Vickers' lumbering feet, away it scampered down the street. It disappeared into the night, back to the shadows, out of sight. We only know the stuff it took. A lump of cheese, a dog-eared book, a tin of biscuits, twisted twine, silk hankies from the washing line. A length of rope, a box of tools, an oil lamp, 2 cotton spools, a basket and a wheel in tandem. Could it be these things weren't random? What could they all be for? As if this thing was planning, making, building something, not just taking. Cutting cloth and bending wires, swift with scissors, needles, pliers, casting knots and tying bows, weaving thread, it neatly sews. What do you think it might be making? Any hints there? Oh. For what at first we think to be, the eye does blindly make us see. This secret plan bound for the skies, a hot air-filled balloon surprise. And look, what young Ruby heard that night? A monkey simply taking flight. Well, he looks very friendly, doesn't he? The things he took, that little ape, were borrowed for a grand escape. There he is waving. The organ grinding life is not for him. And away he goes. There they are watching him float away, and oof, the organ grinder is not too pleased about that, but the monkey is, or the Grotlyn, I should say. The end. So that was the Grotlyn by Benji Davies, shared with you today with permission of Harper Collins. So I hope some of those picture books were of interest to you. I'll leave a link to a catalog list of these books and more spooky Halloweeny reads. So if you want to reserve them, you can come and collect them at any Wandsworth library, or you can come in and browse for some books on your own. Make sure to check out our full roster of online events. It is the last day of October, but it has been Black History Month this month, and you can watch many of our Black History Month events on Facebook and YouTube. So I'll leave a link to that below. Make sure to follow us here on YouTube and on Twitter so you don't miss a thing. And have a very spooky, safe, and happy Halloween. Bye-bye.